Right, morning. Welcome everybody. Wednesday, I think, yeah. Wednesday, the 24th of March, believe it or not, quarter of the year gone. So what did you do in the first quarter of 2021? Hopefully you were productive. And today, what are we talking about? Why and how you do what you do, Lee, is that correct? And what have you done? So over to you, Lee.
Thanks. I'm definitely going to head down that direction. I don't know if Trevor, Edward also spoke about the fact that Ish is here to do kind of a feedback from yesterday. So I don't know if you want to create...
I didn't say I was here to do that. I just said I'd set him on the task. Whether he's done it or not, I don't know.
Anyway, so let me launch in and then we can take the conversation from there. So why and how do we do what we do? Why and how? I think it starts with the why, right? Simon Sinek tells us starts with the why. I think the thing is about the why is I think it's consistent. I think your deep down why is something that is true for you. It doesn't matter the how. And I think even your why can change to some extent. I think I've said many times, my initial why was I'm going to change the world. And then you kind of, your idealistic dreams kind of, you realize that maybe that is a little bit out of reach. And, but it's always been to make a difference. It's always, so my why, and especially as it's connected to who I am, is and the most basic word I can use to describe it is to teach. And for me, teaching is about understanding. It's about listening, understanding, gathering information, gaining perspective, and then being able to pass that on to others in a digestible format so that it feels palatable. And when they can actually imbibe something of that, they gain understanding and perspective, and somehow it shifts their thinking in a way that makes them feel I can do things differently, I can do things better. So that's my why. And that is consistent. It doesn't matter whether I am I'm writing courses, delivering courses, designing courses. In terms of my work, that is also related to the way I work with my partners, the way I parent. My children, are tired of me telling them things that I've read or learned. So that is my why. But I how is integrally connected to our why. So even though it might change, the simple, most obvious example is moving from in-person delivery of courses to digital. So that how might change, but the actual essence of your how must be connected to your why. So one of my partners, in one of our partners, Wisdom's partnerships, we do ethical leadership. So you can't be put more on the spot. If you are addressing issues of ethical leadership, you better be ethical. You better be sure that, for example, one of the things I'm very aware of is that I use IP from a variety of sources. But if I'm using somebody else's IP, I never integrate that IP into my own IP. I always make sure that that IP is recognized as belonging to that person, and if they, and I give them royalties for that, for the use of their IP. So one of my partners is the Dealmaker company. One of my business partners is Wisdoms, and Dealmaker and Wisdoms do not know when I'm running a Dealmaker course or a Wisdoms course. Only I know that because my diary is full. So I tell them, you owe me an invoice because I've used your IP on this occasion. And so that how it has to be true to your why. So that's me. Off you go in terms of your whys and hows.
Lee, you just made me hungry, you know, digestible, imbibing, palatable, you know, all of these things. I just got hungry. So that's my why. I need to go and make breakfast now. So just folks, we'll see you later. Nah, it's just
isn't language amazing that we can use it in such wonderful ways?
Absolutely. All right. So Jasper, I think you were the why and the how that we got onto this topic in the first place. So we better get across to you next.
Morning. Yeah, when the context in which it came up was, you know, we were just questioning or debating why people do what they do, and then I was reminded of way back when I started moving out of my strict corporate mindset and thinking and working for a boss and kind of thing, and moving into the sales field. How one of the lectures was just basically challenging me, and you know, I was so stuck in, but how do we do it? How do we do it? When someone said, well, if the why is not strong enough, the how doesn't matter. But if the why is strong enough, you know, the how will present itself. And that more or less became one of the, call it guides in my life, is just to keep checking back on the why, that if I get stuck, make sure my why is strong enough. So then this morning, when you framed it to say, why and how do we do what we do? I just had to quickly think of what am I busy with? And especially you said the focus was the first part of this year. And starting end of last year to up till now, you know, I'm busy with a project that had its inception in 2008. So it's now been a 12-year journey. And that 12-year journey have started a movement that I call the GIG movement. And for the people who don't know what GIG stands for, it stands for Generational Inheritance Group. And it basically says these are parents, husband-wife teams that make themselves the founding parents of their family legacy, and they embark on a journey to build sustainable inheritance for the time of their children's children. And it's not just about physical money, it's about a whole infrastructure so that their children's children will live in a better world than the one we live in now. So to then put it into the least possible words, I said the why that then drove me and drives me for the last 12 years. And I did it for selfish reasons, for my own family first, to say what would be, or I need to find permanent and sustainable solutions in terms of economy and society, so that my children live in a far better society and in an economic world than I'm living in right now. Then what was the how? Now, I didn't know the how at that stage, but the how has since unpacked itself to say it started with a universal message that would be acceptable in every country and in every culture. And we call that the GIG message, which then talks about neutral language, and everybody is welcome to join, provided that you are willing to embark on your own private family journey to move your family from struggle to significance. And so it takes race out of it, it takes education out of it, it takes culture out of all the things that tend to divide us, religion, all of that. It's purely, do you have that drive in you to become the founding parent? And it has then since translated into other house. And we started community banking. And yesterday we received the news that last week there was Ivan, you also didn't know that. I only heard it yesterday. But there was a banking in Durban in South Africa where all the community banks were invited to attend by the regulatory authorities. And after a week of doing these things, at the end, they then nominated the best established community bank in South Africa. And we got the award, Ivan. So well done on that. But it was a group effort. And the irony is we were so busy getting on with the job that none of us were there to even hear that. And the convener had to just notify Jason to say it happened. And then the other thing was also funding. And I realized we need to be in charge of our own funding mechanisms and tools. So that came into place that we now can tick that regulatory box. And then ultimately, I think the how for me is, how do we constantly work on whatever we can do to unlock resources? And then the unlocking of resources is then in the area of infrastructure. So every society already have some infrastructure in place that's maybe just not used and misappropriate. And the creativity that's within people of how do we unlock that so we can collaborate and work together? So yes, so that's my summary of what I've been busy with and doing and still do on a day-to-day basis.
Great, thanks so much, Jasper. Yeah, and congratulations. I mean, I think that nomination is probably largely down to your persistence and your hard work. So well done. I know you've got a team around you, but you've certainly been the driving force in that one. So that's excellent work. Well done. So Scotty, you do lots of strange and interesting things and taking on the establishment. So the question is why? And I know how, but why?
I just love having people see things from a different perspective. If you have a look at growing up in the film industry and the TV, looking at TV shows, you could just see that some TV shows see things from one perspective and others don't. I used to love Star Trek, one of my favorite shows. And if you understand how they create each episodes, the episodes are done from a different perspective. So we tend to see, so often we don't look at things from multiple perspectives. And we have to learn to change that thinking. It's not an option anymore. And I think the frustrating, so in other words, I want people to see things from different perspectives. But then, as you say, why do I take on the establishment? Because it's very clear that the establishment tries to stop us having those different perspectives, and none so more than in the last sort of 12 months when it's just we just had rampant censorship. And we're only allowed to see things from one perspective, and I vehemently disagree with that. I don't necessarily disagree with the perspective that's coming at us, but I certainly disagree with the inability of us to see things from other perspectives if we so choose. And I think that's what it comes down to. We need to have the if there is absolutely no way that that Jasper would have been able to get his message across about a community banking system unless we had a combination of his perspective that is different to everybody else's, combined with a way to deliver that message. If Jasper didn't have a way of delivering a message of an alternative way of doing banking, his message would never, ever have been heard. So without Jasper's different perspective, we would never have opened our minds to a different perspective of thinking. So the reason I do what I do is because what little role that I play in keeping and allowing people like Jasper and other people to have that perspective and have the ability to shine that perspective on other people's lives. Because if we don't have that ability of freedom of speech and freedom of choice, then we're never, ever going to have the Jaspers of the world change it.
Great, thanks, Scotty, and the Scotties of the world, making lots of noise so people know they can change. So well done with that. Love you taking on the establishment. It's always interesting. So Ish, welcome. I think this is your first time in Wisdom's Chats. I'm not sure, but I think you've got an idea of what you do and how and why. So if you'd like to unmute yourself and maybe give us your thoughts on the how and the why.
Of course. Now, yes, this is the first time I'm on the Wisdom Chat, but I've heard about it a lot, so I couldn't stop myself getting on this morning. What I do, I have been in the corporate world for about 18 years, and there was one thing that I always witnessed. It was the lack of leadership in the bosses, but only a handful of leaders. And ironically, not many understand that there is a gap. So seeing that gap for a very long time, I knew there was a gap, but I didn't knew how to go and bridge that. And then I started following my mentor, John Maxwell, started to get the understanding on where the gap is. And then when I joined the team, I became a coach. I now find out the way on where to bridge it. And it's not by teaching them what to do, that would never raise the awareness, because they are not aware about it that there is a gap. With coaching, what I do is I raise their awareness about their potential, raise the awareness about the gap, and then they take the measures to correct it. So when someone takes the measure himself, he says that, okay, I find this is a gap and this is what I can do. He becomes more accountable and the results are drastic. And it's these small changes that takes the organization from where they are to where they want to be. And it could be any leap from a 6-figure to a 10-figure mark. Whatever they want to achieve, it is only possible when they correct the way they are leading themselves first, and then how they are leading the teams, and how much they are investing in making their team understand how to go ahead and work within the team. So my work is all about helping organizations and individuals become better leaders so that they can achieve whatever goals they have in life. Everything is only possible when you begin by self leadership first, understand how to lead yourself, and then how to lead others to lead others. It's not about only to lead others, but telling them how to lead others also. Leadership is all about taking others along with you on top. That's what I am on a journey. My focus is all on making people aware what true leadership is and how it can help them raise their potential, take them from point A to point B through a personal one-on-one coaching. I also do that by speaking gigs. I have not done it, but yes, I am open for it, to take the agenda in public and make them aware on what can personal growth do for them, what can leadership do for them, what can connection do for them. Not communication. We all communicate, but we don't understand how do we connect with the other person. So that's what I focus on. To be
Right,
grounded,
Mm.
the entire focus is on making people understand what true leadership is. Because there is a huge gap in there, whether in the corporate world, you take the sporting world, the coaching term is widely misused. Not many people understand who a coach is. In fact, 80% of people I talk to, they see a coach as a trainer or a mentor, and he is none of those.
Great, thanks, Isha. And we just turned above videos to just try and help your bandwidth a little bit, because your voice was breaking up, and so we didn't opt out on you, but we were just listening with the videos off, and it certainly seemed to help the clarity of your sound coming through. So thanks for that. Right, Leo, let's get across to you. What's your why and your how?
It's such an interesting question, this why and how. I think for me, my why has often been exploring the edges of my capacity and trying to expand that, and putting myself in places that stretch. I'm just busy reading a book at the moment, The Way of the Seal, and they're talking about developing grit, and he talks about doing the plank for 45 minutes. So my why was, okay, well, let's see if I can stretch into that. And a minute goes by and it's exceptionally difficult. And so that was my start today, and then I went for a walk, and that's why I was a bit late. But so my why is about stretching the edges of my capacity so that I can become more. And in the becoming more, I hope to be making a contribution to South Africa that will uplift economic empowerment. So that has been the journey in growth, and the various aspects of successes and failures along the way. I think as I keep evaluating the why, because each time you read these books, you get exposed to that question. I think for me, my why has to be, I need to grow because there are gaps and hidden spots that often get in the way of success. And then the how becomes, okay, so you practice. So for the next month or so, I'm going to see how far I can get with practicing this plank thing. You know, I did it 3 times in 5 minutes and I was shot. So the beauty of that is that improvement will happen. And I know that because incremental improvement has been an experience that I've had. So my why is let's improve, and then my how at the moment is I'm starting a new business, which in itself is way beyond my current capacity, and it's going to be interesting. Hopefully 12 years from now I can say what Jasper is saying, hey, you know, I did well. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Leo. Yeah, so plank on. It'd be interesting to see how you go with that one. I think the world record for males is 8.5 hours. So if you want to try and go for that record in 12 years' time, you know, that'll certainly be achievement. So
not a chance.
Yeah. So Trevor, the question is, how do you do your why? Yeah.
Well, look, you'll judge from what I have to say why I need partners like Lee and Ivan, because there's nothing that irritates me more when people turn around and say, what is your why and what is your how? Oh, stuff you, man. Why should I tell you what my why is and what I'm actually doing? And so I was trying to think back, you know, people turn around and they say I'm something of a visionary. I even think I'm something of a visionary. And I have this mental block to anyone who comes up and says, well, what is your why and your how? Well, I'll give you one on the side of the ear roll because you're asking me something personal here. So I was trying to rewind back to my young days. And I made this little comment right at the top here, but you people are putting such inane comments in there that I lost what it is I was going to talk about. So I thought I would try and grace the intelligence, IP, intellectual property of this. Edward, for you, I saw your smiley. My why is probably and has always been curiosity, exploration, discovery. In fact, no one ever told me that I actually couldn't do it, or if they did tell me that I couldn't do it, I wasn't listening to them. So I'm reminded of the first guy that died on Everest, and they tended to ask him why he kept asking, and I can't remember what his name was. So you can see this is old age issue, just going to have to suffer some old fools on this forum. So someone can try and remind me who he was. I'm sure Ed will. The first ever guy who they think actually got to the top, but he died on the way down in 1925. And they kept asking, well, why do you keep trying to go up Everest? And his answer was, because it's there. And for some reason, I think my pushing against people who ask, what is your why and your how, is because I just like to experience things. I've got a curiosity. I've got an insatiable curiosity. But I also understand something, and that is that to me, life is just a game. It's an ultimate game. and that there's a starting point and there tends to be an end point. And here was Leo asking Jasper in a couple of years, he wants Jasper to actually confirm that Leo has done well. What stuff, Jasper, man? Leo, you confirm that you did well. And I think I've gone through life not asking for other people's confirmation of what it is that I've been doing. I've just got things started. I've set for myself a little goal that I want to get to. And one thing I must tell you, whenever I've hit that goal, I'm on to the next thing. Okay, now what can we do? What's new? What's exciting? What can we experience? What can we discover? So I don't know if that helps. I'm a bit of an disestablishmentarianism type individual of the Scott Cundles who turn around and request my why and how in this world. I actually want to know who the establishment is from Scott later on. So that's where my curiosity goes to. If you can work out anything from there, please phone my wife, because she's still trying to work out who I am and what I'm doing after 40 years of marriage. And I think we'll hang in for another 30 years because she's intrigued too.
Well, yeah, thanks, Trevor. I think, I'm not sure, but I'm certainly am interested in how you keep on asking somebody a question who died. So, but that's quite an interesting one. So, if you can tell me how you do that, I'll definitely like to pick up on it.
He was asked this question before he died, why he kept going to Everest without breathing apparatus, and unfortunately something caught up with him. So don't try and trip me up, Ivan Anderson. I've got you.
Yeah, it's just how you put your message across that makes the wires come up. So anyway, so Ed, yeah, can you make sense of any of that? But I don't know if it's worth it. So maybe just tell us your own story.
Yeah, no, I'm not Trevor. I've been in total turmoil the whole time, wondering why am I going to do this? Because I'm going to totally disagree with Lee, which I think is a very high risk strategy, probably. And just if you want to know why I questioned what IP was, it's because I'm running a thing called DUA, which stands for DUA, don't use acronyms. But I totally disagree with Lee, because Lee was saying your why is the sort of the key thing, the important thing, the essence of you. And I think the how is. And I also think, if you're teaching ethical leadership, surely isn't that all about the how rather than anything else? And, I campaign on the environment, and I'm passionate about campaigning on the environment. And I was talking to someone the other day, and I was describing how I do it. And it's about influencing people. And I don't know whether you guys know about Extinction Rebellion. They're a very sort of aggressive campaigning group, and they glue themselves to trains, and they glue themselves to the Houses of Parliament. They're very disruptive. They have a big campaign in London a couple of years ago. They put a boat in the middle of the main street in London and blocked all the traffic. They blocked all the bridges. Well, I was talking to this lady the other day about, actually, that's not me. I don't take direct action. I influence, I nudge. I kind of use subtle tactics. But I said, I think there's a place for that sort of thing, because governments aren't listening, and they need to listen. And this woman I was talking to told me about her sister, and she glued her breasts to the pavement outside Goldman Sachs. And I thought, do you know what? That was the cleverest thing anyone could do, because in the UK, Goldman Sachs are in the news today, actually, for forcing their workers to work 95 hours a week. But you see, she was a very, very bright woman, and she sexually exploited men in the UK, because we've got a newspaper called The Sun, which has got a very high circulation. And it always on page 3 used to have a picture of a naked woman with her breasts. The Sun is obsessed with sex and breasts. So, of course, what she did was get herself on the front page of The Sun. Extinction Rebellion, and it said booby trap, big letters, woman glues her breasts in capital letters, and she got climate change in the biggest popular newspaper in the country. I couldn't do that because that's not my how. That was her how. And I think we all have to do things within our how. But I admired that, and I thought, wow. And I just felt so honored to have met her sister. I'm just hoping to meet her at some point in time, because she is now my hero in the climate change thing. And everything I do, whether it's my little campaign around don't use acronyms, I wouldn't go and, I don't know, glue myself to Lee's front door just because she said IP, but I will kind of take a little bit of Mickey out of her here, and Mickey out of myself by actually running a campaign called DUA, don't use acronyms. That's my way of doing it. That's my how. But I do admire other people's hows as well. I'm not very cooperative. I don't work in groups. Jasper works in groups. That's his how. So I think the how is the most important thing around. And we all have lots of different whys. Why did I get up this morning? Why do I want to campaign? Why do I like Beyonce? But the how is the most fundamental because it is our essence and it dictates how we do everything. Whether it's my approach to people, my approach to campaigning, my approach to, I don't know, how I part my hair. How is the most important thing there is. So, sorry, Lee.
Okay, thanks, Ed. I'd love to introduce you to this lady. If you just pop down to Goldman Sachs, you'll find her stuck to the pavement. So I've got to question her intelligence. She maybe achieved her ends, but yeah, the means I'm not too sure. But and then those ends are probably quite painful by now. So anyway, we won't go any further down that particular track. So yeah, it is fascinating, and listening to everybody and trying to think about my own particular hows and whys, and for once I actually almost agree with Trevor. A little bit I understood about what he said, actually. In fact, it was more about what he typed in the box that I understood. I mean, what he said, I have got no clue what he was really on about. But for me, it's all yeah. Okay. So for me, it's, again, I agree. I think it's about curiosity. It's about learning. It's about experiential, things. And I think it all starts with that. It starts with an interest in something. It starts with, and that grows into curiosity, into fascination, into exploration. And if you're not going to be interested in something, that isn't going to be a how or a why. Well, I suppose there is, but it's how or why you walk away from it. But yeah, I love people who've got these huge BHAGs and want to change the world and do all sorts of these things, and we need those people in this world without a shadow of a doubt. I'm not sure that I'm one of them. I might create some ripples like Ed likes to do, and see how those ripples extend out, and maybe one changes the world first by changing yourself. So those are just my little thoughts on a big topic, and I think it is a topic that could actually go very large. So Leo, Glencon, Lee, where do we go from there?
Our topic for the UK chats at 10 o'clock this morning is about whether process or outcome is more important. And I think it might be worth putting that through, because we're kind of doing this push and pull between, is it the why, is it the how, what comes first, what is the priority? And I think it works with that topic as well. Is it process or outcome that is the focus and is more important. So let's delve a little bit more into that tomorrow.
Great. Thanks, Lee. Thanks, everyone. Have a
Ivan,
fantastic day.
could you just edit my bit so I can just play that at 10 o'clock, which is 8 o'clock UK time, because it would fit that subject nicely.
I'm pretty sure you could come up with some more ideas.
Yeah.
I would kind of bet on it.
Okay.
Yeah, and just to finish off with the acronyms, you know, NEL stands for No Education Left. So anyway, we'll leave it at that, and off we go. Cheers, everyone.
Thanks.